autism spectrum disorder is such a mystery, but lately the medical community is zeroing in on the cause.
That's right. Joining us now to talk about autism, the treatments, the latest research, and how golf is giving families with autistic children a reason to exhale are Aurora Cruz, child and family therapist with the Association to Benefit Children. Welcome to BK Live, Aurora.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Good. We're also happy to have Mel Rodriguez here. He's the communications officer with the Brooklyn Junior Autistic Golfers Academy. Happy to have you here, sir.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thanks for the work you've been doing.
Well, thank you both. Thank you both. Aurora, if we can sort of start this discussion on the medical side, what are some of the symptoms of autism spectrum disorder?
I think some of them are, what I see is a lack of eye contact, poor social skills, the inability to stay engaged with another person, repetitive motions, and a need for a routine more than the average person. So those are some.
I sort of need those things myself.
Well, so listening to that, Mel, are there any of those things that you found in there that might come from a diagnostic angle that might be beneficial or lend itself to someone being inclined to golf?
Well, let's from our understanding. I mean, like, I'm not a medical professional.
Yeah.
Okay, I've coached a lot of different sports. And our executive director, Charles Lightfoot, he's the real force behind this, and he's the real golf instructor. And I've learned a lot over the course of time, but the one thing that you do find is that these children tend to gravitate to something that they are doing. In other words, something they, like, it could be anything.
Right.
And once you identify what that is, like what it is that they want to do, and you give them a vehicle to do that, then you can introduce something. And that's how we were able to get these children to actually grab a golf club and actually swing one and hit a golf ball. And of course, those that are function on a higher level, are able to take more instruction. And if you watching the documentary, you'll see that Mary, there's a shot of Mary there just cracking a golf ball for real on a driving range. Well, that comes from repetition. That comes from all those things that these children do. And the reason why we call the documentary Voices from the Outside is because we're trying to get to them, right? We're out here to them.
Right.
So we are those voices from the outside trying to give them something to do. And then once they latch on, it's like a domino effect. And you can actually do some really good things with those kids.
I have to say, when I was watching the trailer, the first thing that the father said, that he was like, it was great to actually come into a place where we were welcome. And so I could only think about, so many different sort of places and venues and activities where, children with, affected by this disorder may not necessarily be welcome. I do have to ask, though, we're looking at Mary right there. Aurora, can you tell us, how does gender sort of play a role in diagnosing boys versus girls?
So in reading and research, the latest thing that I've read is research as far back as 2012, where there was about 1,000 kids targeting the age of 8, specifically the age of 8. And in those 1,000, 14% were diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder. Of those 14%, 26% of that was boys, and only 5% were girls. So that's a huge difference. And I think it's more prevalent. What I see, is it is more prevalent in boys than girls. But that's my opinion.
So Mel, looking at what we do know about autism right now and seeing the kids out on the links, it seems like, okay, this is a marriage that was made to happen, but how did the idea for the Academy come about?
Well, okay, I met Charles, and I'm not going to go too deep, but it's, purely by happenstance. My son is a typical kid, I mean, he's not on the spectrum, he's just a regular kid. He was about 8, 9 years old. I was working with him on a golf course, and I happened to meet Charles. And then, I ended up getting him to be my son's golf instructor. And then he said to me, he said, okay, how would you like to be a parent model child to help special kids? I said, sure, let's do this thing. And from that came the birth of BJAGA. And my son and I worked with Charles for about 3 years or so. Then life gets in the way. You do different things, and over that course of time, we started out with a tent. I mean, like one of those little tents you put up.
Pop-up, yeah.
Well, now there's a little facility located at 3200 Flatbush Avenue in Brooklyn, which was the Brooklyn Golf Center, which there's issues now because of the lessee gave it up, and now we're basically locked out of it. To be, and I have to say that, we were going to have a youth day in June. It doesn't look like it's going to happen, and we've been working with the city councilman Mazel, the Brooklyn Borough President's office, and the Gateway Recreation, to try to get this, moving forward and open for us. But answering the question, it was basically this nexus of, getting, me and my son helping Charles in that fashion, and then people just started coming, and then all of a sudden sending flyers out to schools, and then all of a sudden it became a bigger thing, and that's how it actually got to where it is.
Well, I actually had a chance to go through the website, and it's actually very amazing. Please go there so you can make a charitable contribution. But it says that you service kids in the New York and the New Jersey area. At this point, how many golfers do you think that you've sort of introduced to the game?
Well, I'm pretty sure over the course of time, it's got to be over 100. I mean, easily. And that's me estimating. I mean, because like I said, I was out of the scope of it for a few years. Yeah. But there's always a youth day. And people come out, and being that we're limited in staff, okay, you can't have 20 autistic children out there swinging golf clubs, okay, at once. So it's more a individualized program to where we take on a few kids. Right. Okay, and it's individualized. It's like, so the actual program isn't like you say it's A, B, C, and D. We work with the child. We work with the family. We see what it is going to help them and try to accommodate that. We get them out on a golf course. We have the ability to get them out to any state-run golf course. We have a card that allows us to do that. And we have Forest Park. They accommodate us, and we're always working towards getting a wider net that we can go use.
So Aurora, this golf is one approach. Are there other sort of proven things that you can do as treatment to help young people on the spectrum to develop and grow? Yeah.
So what I do in session is I kind of model the behavior that I want for whatever my client is doing. So what we want is them to learn social skills. Mm-hmm. And a lot of the time they just don't understand the nature of space, personal boundaries, when it's appropriate to do certain things, such as when it's appropriate to laugh, when it's appropriate to be upset, anger, frustration, and modeling these behaviors. I had a client come into my office and ask me if I was mad, and to demonstrate what mad looks like to this client. And I was like, well, I could show you, but I'm not really mad right now. So the client waited 10 minutes and then was like, okay, so I want to blow up your office. And I was like, oh, I see you're trying to make me mad. And that was like, oh, okay, but it's not going to make me mad. So why don't we try this a different way? But I understood that because I understood what they were going through. Right. Somebody else would not understand that and might think that's like very aggressive behavior, especially when it's coming from a child. Right. So we're just trying to model one that's appropriate and how you could say that differently.
Aurora, I just want to follow up. There was recently a change in DSM that has caused children who are autistic to have some changes in services. What does the change mean, and has that been helpful?
So I think, yes, it's been helpful, and sometimes it could be not as helpful. It depends on how you want to look at it. So we've changed our DSM. We had a DSM-4. Every couple of years we change it. Higher functioning children can probably do a little bit better than not as high functioning children. So with social skills and modeling this behavior, you really have to seek out some more services, and that's okay. That just means the parents have to be more of an advocate for their child. And parents are doing that. They see that there's a real need for that.
So before we go a little further down, DSM, explain to us what a DSM is. DSM, actually.
It's what clinicians use to diagnose individuals. I forget what the acronym actually stands for because I've been
Diagnostic Statistics Manual.
Thank you. I should know this, right?
But everybody just calls it DSM.
DSM. I've been just calling it that for so long. So yes, and everything is in there, from autism spectrum disorder to bipolar to depression, and there's a criteria, and you have to meet the criteria. If for whatever it is, you have to meet a certain agenda.
So I don't know if you guys, or if we're paying better attention, or if programs like yours are bringing it to the front a little bit more, but it seems like the diagnosis of being somewhere on the autism spectrum is a lot more prevalent now. Is that like this sort of false sense of just the growing number of folks who have autism, or are we seeing more people who are being diagnosed?
That's a good question. I'm not sure, to be honest with you. I think it's just parents being really an advocate for their child, and just wanting to be there for their child.
Well, you can't argue with that. And now they have another tool. So tell us how we can get in touch with your organization down at the Academy.
Well, the easiest and best way is to go to our website, which is bjaga.net. There you'll find contact information for myself, for Mr. Lightfoot. We have various ways of donating to our cause, and it's not all about financial. If someone feels they have something, excuse me, in kind that they would like to volunteer, that they would like to bring their services to us.
My golf skills are very subpar.
But Charles can fix that.
He's got enough to do. Let's start with this one, trust me. So thank you both for being here. We'll definitely be looking out, and keep us updated on the situation with your June event.
Well, not to take too much time, doesn't look like it's going to happen, and we're still locked out, essentially, and we've been trying our best.
Well, give us your 20-second elevator pitch. Someone out there has a space, so tell them right now what you need and what's going to make it happen.
Well, if there is a golf facility that would like to, host our youth day, feel free to go to bjaga.net and contact me via email or call me on our phone.
I think
Thank
our
you very much.
president has a golf facility or two. He could use some good press. Get on that, Trump.
There you go.
All right. Thank you for coming. We
Thank you
appreciate
both.
it.
Thank you so much.